And now for our reading. From Her Body and Other Parties Stories by Carmen Maria Machado. We are reminded that we are alive. We love each other all of the time and like each other most of the time.
Welcome back to the Reading Room Ruffians, your favorite library podcast. We discuss books we've read, tell you about our upcoming programs, and throw a few guest speakers in for some flavor. This is Mallory, your clumsy fairy godmother, and I'm joined by my pretty and pink BFF, Ariel.
Actually, I'm in burgundy.
Rude. Our supreme overlord, Carla.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to say here.
And we are recording from our library in Jackson County, West Virginia. As usual, Zach, the boy wonder, is joining us from Seattle, Washington.
Holy uncanny photographic mental processes, Batman.
That was a mouthful.
It really was.
It was hard to say. It was.
Today we have some special guests on, and we'll be talking about Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper. So we have Grayson, who is one of the kids that I think all of us have had as programmers.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't think I've had him.
Oh, he's not
yet.
in your... I thought
Not
he was
yet.
in your summer reading. Okay, my bad.
Nope.
Okay, cool. We are happy to have him on today. He read the book, and also his mom is joining us, too. You guys want to say anything?
Okay.
I'm just here for support.
You gotta talk loud, too.
Yes,
because
loud.
we're loud.
Yeah. Okay, so who wants to start off on the chat?
I guess I'll start it since I'm the one that chose the book. I was accused of double dipping for this book because I had to read it for class.
Yeah.
And then I used it for my deep dive. But I really, really enjoyed this book and I wanted to share it with people. It's not like a story where from beginning to end. It's just a snippet in this girl's life. And I was so into the book that I actually looked it up to make sure it wasn't based on someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not.
Yeah.
But the author, Sharon Draper, does have a daughter that has cerebral palsy.
Oh.
See, the main character in the book, Melody, she has cerebral palsy, and it takes you through her life, the time she was born through 5th grade. Now, most of the book is on the 5th grade part, but I was struck by how people with disabilities are treated by other people. It was just really eye-opening for me, and it made me so mad at times. Because even the doctors treated her like she was an idiot because they couldn't understand how she needed to communicate.
Yep.
It was really, really eye-opening. I really loved it. I loved Melody. I cried. I laughed.
I did too.
And it made me see the world differently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there'll be lots of spoilers in this one because I can't not talk about some of the stuff. But one time when she went out to dinner with the group that she was in, there were stairs.
Yep.
And no one paid any attention to the fact that, this makes it difficult. Yeah. We just don't see it because we're not used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really, really good book. What were your guys' thoughts on it? Grayson, what did you think about it?
It was very eye-opening to people who have different thoughts and thought processes that of how things work. Like, one thing that I noticed was she connects music to colors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was cool. That was a cool part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is really cool. Synesthesia, I believe. Yeah. That's such a cool thing. And I've actually heard from quite a few people in groups that I'm on Facebook that say, I can associate your name with a smell or a color or something like that. And it's just the coolest thing.
Yeah, I always want to know. When I hear people say that they can do that, I'm like, it's my name.
Yeah.
What am I?
What am I? I loved this book. It made me cry I felt like some of the dumbest places. I cried when she got her dog because I am my family is a golden retriever family. And so as soon as she said a fluffy golden ball, I was like, yes, of course she has a golden retriever. Just lost it. And a lot of places I was reminded of certain interactions I've had, not personally with other students, like from high school or middle school with disabilities, but then I went in on Goodreads to leave my review, and I saw that one woman back in 2010 was like, this seems out of date. And I had students or fellow students in my classroom with me that had disabilities. So I don't think that this is at all, correct or accurate. And the people responding to her were like, no, we didn't have anybody like that. Special education was completely separate. They never came in, which was our experience in high school.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
it was definitely, they talked about the inclusion classes, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Although it was in 2010, so that was after I graduated. So
That was the year I graduated.
What about now, Grayson? What's it like now in school? Is the special needs separate or?
Well, the special needs doesn't have classes with us, but they eat lunch with us, and they're a big part of like the school year and the school day.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I love this book so much that I've started reading the second one.
Yeah.
And I'm halfway through it, and I love it also. It's just great. I love Melody. It made me, I didn't cry, but it made me very angry a lot of times because I've always been one of those people that, like, I will defend the, like, weird or the bullied or whatever. I am a bully's bully. So, I mean, I scared the jocks in my school because I was mean. Because I was like, you're not going to mess with these people who are different, who are weird. So to read this book and listen to how even the teachers at that school treated her different, treated her like she was stupid, made me so incredibly angry. And I was like, if I was there, oh my gosh, you would have had to come get me from school because it would have been bad. I would have been in the principal's office. I would not stand for it. But I'm also one of these people who, like, see someone with a disability and I think, you can't use that as an excuse. So it's kind of like, you know, and she doesn't. She doesn't use that as an excuse. She's like, I have so many thoughts. I am so smart. You know, I just need something. And she gets it. She works for that. She gets the, meta talker?
Meta talker, yeah.
And, you know, so she can get all those words out and prove that she's smart. And then her mom is so supportive. And Mrs. V is so supportive.
I loved her.
Oh, she was fantastic. Because she was like the same as me. She's like, yeah, you have this. But that doesn't mean that you can't do these things. You can still do it. And that's the kind of thought process that I have with people with disabilities. Because, I mean, I've just been around people with disabilities. And I'm like, it's fine. We can do this. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
We'll do it.
It's not going to be the same as everybody else, but that's okay. We'll get you there. Like,
that's, because facing with my own issues, like obviously I don't have any physical disabilities or anything like that, but
actually, you do. I'm taking a class on disabilities right now. What do you need to wear to function in society effectively? Glasses.
Oh.
You have to wear glasses.
I do have to wear glasses. That's not where I thought you were going.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, like, the tongue tie that I have.
Oh, yeah.
I do have a tongue tie. I can't stick my tongue out of my mouth more than, like, 2 centimeters or something like that. So, like, as a kid, I got made fun of because they were like, haha, you can't stick your tongue out. And I was like, seriously? Right now? That's what we're doing? Because, like, when I do try to stick my tongue out, the little piece of skin that attaches your tongue to the bottom of your mouth gets stuck in between my teeth.
Ouch.
Yeah. And it got to the point where I tried to fix it with some Orajel and my brother using scissors to cut it.
No.
It didn't work very well.
It didn't. We got a little bit. It was a little bit better, but it's not great.
A little bit better, yeah.
Oh,
so,
word.
like, even though I haven't had any really super physical disabilities, I guess, I did have a lot of mental stuff that I had to go through. And, you know, you learn to adapt. You learn to get through it to become a functioning person. And I think reading this book shows you what people with even worse disabilities have to go through just to be able to function.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize just how fortunate you are. So I think this is a great book. I think everybody needs to read it.
I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to use it for a book report too, so I guess I'm triple dipping because I have another class.
That was one of my biggest thoughts about it was I have ADHD and I wasn't diagnosed until earlier last year, late last year. And I didn't realize that ADHD was a thing. I mean, I knew it was, but not for me. You know, I did really well in school. I was one of those nerds. And that's great because obviously I am one, whatever. But the more, and this is going to sound really funny, but the more I watched ADHD TikToks, the more I was like, this all sounds like me. And so I finally went to the doctor and I asked, can we get me tested for this? Like, if I'm not, I just want to know. And so, you know, I started going to a psychiatrist who helped diagnose me. And basically, all of the stories that I had heard and, like, you know, used growing up in school were basically giant red flags for ADHD.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. So, and I didn't have, you know, that wasn't a thing, especially whenever I was growing up that we tested for, girls, especially with ADHD, because it presents differently. And so...
And we mask better.
Yes,
I mean, we mask a lot of our disabilities, mental disabilities better.
Autism's another big one like
it
that.
is.
Like, right now, I'm trying to get my son to get tested for autism because I'm 95% sure that he has autism, and we need to figure out a way for him to be able to become a functioning adult. You know, so I have to learn these different techniques. But like you said, you didn't get diagnosed with ADHD. I didn't get diagnosed with PTSD until I was an adult, and after going to therapy, and they were like, oh yeah, I was like, you know what? Hindsight, that makes perfect sense.
And so it's like, you know, because I was smart and able to speak for myself and let everybody know I was smart, it was like, nothing's wrong with you. You just need to get it together. And it's like, you know, not everybody can do that. And that was one of those really big, wow, I had it.
I got chill bumps.
I know, right?
Chill bumps.
One
just
of those
thinking
things,
about when she got that Medi-Talker. I was so happy for her and so proud of her for like being able to get this, you know. I was like, she finally has a voice. I was like so excited. I look at the chills.
That's like I was
it's
about to
a
cry.
It really is.
In
a very subtle way.
I was really surprised it took that long for her to get the Medi-Talker, though. She was, 11? Almost. 10 3/4 or whatever it was.
10 3/4. That's what she said at the very beginning.
Before she got it, which is, it's wild it took that long. I was going to say, I liked the book. It was pretty good.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting, well, you guys just skipped over me entirely, because I don't know.
We have things to say. See,
Clearly.
I could not have lived my life like her. I talk way too much. I would have gone insane.
I would have been
angry. I would have been
very angry.
I can't imagine being stuck in a body that doesn't work with a mind that's phenomenal, like hers was.
Couldn't have done it.
Yeah, the fact that she stayed resilient throughout the whole time was impressive. Like, I mean, people who have had like the sort of more locked-in syndrome type stuff. I mean, obviously she could move and gesture and stuff like that, but she also couldn't get her point across a lot of the time. The fact that she stayed, I don't know, coherent and sane the whole time is impressive to me.
Yeah.
You know, like it seems like it'd be very difficult if you're not able to communicate effectively.
I gotta say, though, her mom, when they went to the doctor, when she was getting ready to start school, and the doctor was like, oh, your daughter's never gonna do anything. And she was like, oh, no. I was like, you go, Mom.
Her mom had a couple of like really great. I cheered her on so loudly. But the whole doctor visit there. Whenever I got really mad about this. Whenever he was like, point to the one that has a calf, and then she named off the animals. I was like, excuse me, a doctor is telling her that she's wrong. I'd have stabbed him.
Yeah, that test actually it seems just really dumb in general because. Multiple answers for the right thing, and then also they didn't have any sort of accommodation for her ability to communicate. They were just giving her like a normal kid test. That's not helpful.
Well, and I think that was the whole point. If he didn't care, she had a disability that was visible, and that was it.
Did we know when this took place? They kept talking about like MySpace and stuff. Was this like in the early 2000s?
They said 2010.
Oh, did they actually say 2010?
It was written in 2010.
Yeah, it was written in 2010. I don't know when it... I mean, it's not real.
It's probably... I mean, it's set probably right around that same time.
I actually looked it up. It's not real. But it seems like it should be real.
I'm sure it's happened
Did you
somewhere.
think it was real, Grayson?
At first, whenever I was reading it, I thought it was real. But as it went on, you could like... There was...
Clues?
There were clues.
I didn't get them.
And whenever Catherine comes along, she's a really big help.
She really is. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And whenever they go to the competition, she's helpful there too.
Catherine was amazing.
Yeah.
What do we think of her team leaving her?
I don't want to talk about it right now.
I am not surprised it happened.
It didn't surprise me either. But it was wrong on more levels than I could even begin.
Yeah.
And the fact that her bully took her place at the competition.
Yeah.
I would have ran her over.
And then whenever she told her mom, she was like, I have to go to school to make sure that people know that I didn't lose.
Yeah. She was amazing. That took so much.
I would have ran
I don't even have a word for it.
Like, oops, run you over. Sorry about your luck. My arm slipped and pushed.
What really got me then was the fact that it was Rose that didn't even call.
Yes,
and Rose was supposed to be her friend.
Yeah.
Like that made me so angry.
Yeah.
And I just and then it kind of surprised me. Was it Molly or Claire who noticed that she wasn't there? It was
Claire, right?
No, I thought it was the understudy. Not Claire, the other.
Molly.
No, not Molly. It was like
Amanda
was in there.
I thought it was like
was it the boy
Adelaide or
Connor?
something like that?
Amanda.
Look it up.
I'm trying. I was really upset with the teacher too.
Mm-hmm.
It was his responsibility to make sure
Yep.
that team was together. They all had the same information.
Yep.
And I think the adults
And the fact
really failed her.
and
Yep.
the fact that everybody was there earlier.
Yeah.
Like hours before the flight.
So they could go
Just
to
to get
breakfast.
breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't even invite her.
No.
That made me angry.
You would almost think that they like had planned it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
It's-
everybody was there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 hours before
Yeah.
the flight. And
Mm-hmm.
the weather.
I will say, I feel like that section, there's a few places in this book where it felt kind of goofy. Like, there's some plot contrivances that they're putting in to make stuff actually happen. I feel like it could have been a little bit more realistic about what they were doing, but...
I thought it did kind of represent human behavior as being realistic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, the human behavior part, that makes sense. For aside from them going up the steps and knowing she's in a wheelchair, like,
Uh-huh.
I cannot imagine that part actually happening.
I can.
Oh, I
I
can.
can.
All the people, like, literally the entire team
Yes.
and the
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Well, I mean, think about how they treated her. I mean, like, they really don't consider her to be anything other than her disability.
Yeah.
And they don't think that because, they can go up the steps, that it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because-
And I mean, they even at dinner, they ignored her while
Mhm.
she was eating because
Yeah.
they didn't want to, like, even pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And she didn't even want to eat because she didn't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That she had to be helped to eat.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like, Claire then went and threw up and nobody batted an eyelash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she is the problem because she needs help to eat.
And whenever they got like the bronze trophy, whenever they came back, and
Oh,
she just shoves it off
that
her
was-
wheelchair.
Oh, I say
Sweet
delicious.
vengeance. I loved it.
It's an accident. It's just an accident.
Yeah.
And then everybody laughed. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of like went back to not normal, but they kind of let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's because she did. And she
Yeah.
was like, you deserve it. And then I like to
And the fact
imagine
she
she
didn't-
never came back.
Yeah, the fact that she didn't stay in the class, she went back to her other class.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, though, I would have ran over some feet.
I agree.
Speaking of running over, what do we think about her sister?
Her sister.
Oh, yeah.
that
Oh, my
one-
God. That
was-
scared me so
yeah,
much.
that's when I saw. I was like crying. I was like,
And then
"You
whenever-
can't kill her sister. You can't kill her
I
sister."
know, yeah,
I
And
was
whenever
gonna
she
be.
asked Miss V, like, is she dead?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
And the fact she was worried about her having brain damage.
Mhm.
And being like her.
Yeah.
She was afraid
And
she
her-
would be like
I'm
her.
going to cry.
and
Stop
Yeah.
it.
Penny,
Yeah, I know.
her doodle.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
Oh, doodle.
That actually sort of showed something, even just in her immediate family, that they don't always pay attention to her. Because the mom could have just stopped for a second and was
Yeah.
like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
She did. She
as a mom being fed up and in a bad mood, I kind of get the mom being like, let's just go, let's just
Yeah.
leave and get this over with,
I know, but the girl never throws fits like that. Just
Well,
seemed
that's
off.
true. Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those, for me, it was like a callback to the fish jumping out of the bowl and how she
Yeah.
threw that fit and her mom thought that she did it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whereas instead she was trying to save the fish. And it was one of those things. And I think it was a real eye opener for her mom because she was then able to tell Miss V that that's what happened to the fish.
Yeah.
I don't think that she had ever told her mom. It
Probably not.
was one of those things that was
That's-
like, oh,
That made me. The cover of the book. I was like, in
Yeah.
God's name, do they have that? And it was like, yeah, that was.
Can you not find that?
I can't find it. I don't know where it's at.
I think it was like around chapter 24 maybe.
Oh, you did the chapter. I'm just looking near the end of the book.
Oh.
Like I'm not even
I really am not
narrowing
sure.
it down.
what were you looking for?
The name
Oh, wait,
of the
no, it would've
person
been
that
closer
It's
to
near
she
the
was
end because
missing.
it's when she's like
Oh.
asking
In the
them.
classroom.
Yeah.
Whenever they board the plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Why
while you
did
guys are
you-
looking for that, I want to mention something that infuriated me. It doesn't have to do with the book, but it has to do with wheelchairs on airplanes.
Elena. Elena is her
Oh,
name.
Elena.
And
Well, never mind then. I'll tell
I
it later.
just saw this and it said the silent room echoed our thoughts. I had a goldfish. He jumped out of his bowl. So that was another part.
Yeah.
Yes. So they said that she asked, nobody thought about me, and silence again. And finally, Elena says, I did. I was the first one to board the plane. Just as I gave my boarding pass to the agent, I reminded Mr. Deming that you were missing.
And
So
then Mr. Deming didn't do anything.
Mr. Deming,
Was a piece of work. Let's just put it that way.
things I can't say in present company, and because we're not blessed.
Yeah.
And I'd have to bleep out a bunch of stuff.
The fact that he didn't believe that she did well on the test because she knew stuff the first time.
Yeah,
Blew my mind a
yeah.
little bit. It was like, you don't get lucky on a multiple choice test and get all 50 questions right. That's just
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Bro. Like, it was ridiculous.
And in the airport, whenever her dad punches the wall,
Mm.
and then he can't do anything, he takes off work, and Penny's sick.
Oh, I did think it was funny with the dad. He's just like grinning while they're getting soaked.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
such
like,
a dad
that
thing to
really
do.
is.
That is
I'm
such a dad thing. If I was a
sorry.
dad, I would be doing that the whole time. It's like, oh no, I'm hurt. I
We
can't
can
do
tell.
anything.
Yeah, we know what kind of dad you'd be, Zach.
I'd be a fantastic dad.
Okay. Do we have any other thoughts?
I'm going to tell my airport story.
Yes.
I watched a video about this woman who's in a wheelchair, and she has very little mobility. It's one of the nicer wheelchairs that has the little knobs and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
they're very delicate, which I didn't realize. She travels a lot, and she was going to testify before Congress to make airline safety safer for people in wheelchairs.
Mhm.
And she's like, they don't load people in wheelchairs early because it's a convenience for the person in the wheelchair. It's because they don't want people to see what goes on. And she filmed the whole thing. And they have to take them out of their wheelchair and put them in a wheelchair that will go down the aisle, which is like a different experience anyway. And then they have to take that wheelchair down the aisle. And I mean, she was like in the middle of the plane, like type thing. I'm thinking, why would you do this? And lift her out of the wheelchair and put her in a seat. Now you could tell this was very uncomfortable for her and
Yeah.
probably painful from some of her expressions. These people are not trained to lift people.
Mm-mm.
They are not trained in any of this stuff. And they take the wheelchair, and she talked to they didn't even want her to talk to the people that do the cargo because she had to explain to them how to take care of this wheelchair. But they put it in the cargo section, and then you're in the air. There's bumps in the air.
Yeah.
Things get moved. Well, it was damaged again when she got out, but not to the point she couldn't use it, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But there was one woman she talked about who was in a wheelchair, and when they were trying to move her, they, I guess, dropped her or something and broke her neck. She eventually, she lived a year like that, but then she died. It's like restaurants have to have handicap accessible tables. Movie theaters have to have handicap accessible tables. Buses have handicap stuff.
Yep.
Personally, I think that airlines should be made to rip out one row of seats in economy. I mean, you could tack that little bit of price onto first class and spread it out, and you wouldn't lose money, and have ways where they can strap those wheelchairs in like at any other place, so you don't have to move. It just seems so unfair and so dangerous for people to travel.
They do on school buses.
They do. I mean, it's like, why are
they?
the airlines have no? They literally lift them. It took 4 of them to lift her out because you can't. There's no room in a seat anyway. So I know it just made me so mad at the way people are treated. They're treated less than human. Like it's a bother to. And these people have it so much harder than the rest of us. I mean, I can't imagine. And it could happen to any of us anytime. Any of us could be in a car accident, and next thing you know, you're in a wheelchair.
I think the bus driver, Gus, did a good job at
He did.
He's very helpful.
He was great. She had a lot of really good people in her life.
She did.
She was very fortunate in that way.
Because not everybody does. No, not everybody does.
Speaking of aircrafts, though, last time I flew, which was to Seattle to see Zach, I was watching this old man. He was in a wheelchair, and they got a walker for him, made him grab a hold of the walker and stand up so they could change him to a different wheelchair.
Yeah, one that fits on the plane.
But they wouldn't even pick him up. They made him do it.
He's probably safer doing it himself.
I mean, sure, he probably was. But the fact that they had to go find a walker so he could grab a hold of it so he could get up and get in this other one. And he was so concerned about his wheelchair. Because I watched him. He kept on
those things are expensive.
They really are.
He kept on being like, make sure you do this, make sure you do this, this, and this. And I was like,
because if it gets damaged and they end up at their destination, they're without. They can't move. Anyway, I was so mad. And it was right after I had read this book, so it really brought it home.
Would you like to hear about what's going on in the second book?
Yeah, tell me about the second one. You're reading the second one too, aren't you?
It's a little different. You learn more things about Melody than you do in the first book.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, her hair is curly and her sister's hair is curly.
Yeah, they talk about that.
They talk about, more about her.
Yeah.
And the beginning of the book is, different than it is in here. In here, she's talking about, words and stuff. In here, they're on the lawn looking at, or trying to catch fireflies.
Yeah, and she felt special because one landed on her.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But in this book, she's going to camp. She's going to a disability camp.
Oh, yeah.
But she's talking about how all her, schoolmates and stuff like that are going to camp. And she's
like a mermaid camp.
They're going to mermaid camp, which is hilarious in itself.
It's like Claire and Molly, and I think Rose is going too. But they have mermaid fins on, and they get like wheeled around in a mermaid throne.
Which is a wheelchair!
So
they made fun of her all year for having to be in a wheelchair, and then they're going to camp to do the exact same thing. Like, it's great. But yeah, she goes to, I don't want to give too much away because I think I'm farther along than you are. Yeah, but she goes to a disability camp, and this one is called Out of My Heart, I think is what.
Yeah,
this book's, there's a boy there that she finds cute, and I'm pretty sure he finds her cute also. Now, there hasn't been much going on there, obviously, but she's talking about, like, in her head, how she has that inner monologue. Mm-hmm. She's like, we've talked about all these birds and animals and stuff like that, but no one's ever talked to me about what to do when a boy makes my heart race and my fingers tingle. Oh. And I was like, oh, you sweet baby.
Wow. How old is she in this one? Is she still like the 10 3/4 or 11 or whatever?
She's like,
she's a year older.
11 and a half, I think now.
Oh my gosh, 11 and a half.
Yeah, so it's like her first like crush or whatever. It's so cute.
Yeah.
It's really good, and it reads very fast, so.
Yeah, this was a pretty fast book. I kind of slowed it down myself. Like, I listened to it at 1.5 speed, but I didn't binge it. And I think mostly because I was so emotional through the whole thing.
Yeah, you kept telling me, I cried at this. And I was like, why?
It wasn't like heavy crying, though. It was just like I would tear up and was like, you get back up there, tear, like I just quit.
Yeah, when they were talking about it, Mallory was like, oh yeah, I started crying at this part. And my mom, Carla, she's like, yeah, it's not going to make you cry. You're going to get mad. She's not wrong.
It was an emotional roller coaster for me. Because, like, the really happy things, and, like, specifically, I think the first part where I really cried was when her dad said, I wish I could be this instead of you. Like, I wish I could take all of this for you. And, you know how much I love you. Like, just, I don't know. For whatever reason, that made me just... I cried.
Because it's sweet.
Yeah.
It is sweet.
And so many parents do feel like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a lot. I know. I feel the tears coming back, and I'm like, I can't talk about it anymore. Let's run away.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
And
I'm not finished with it yet.
Yeah.
But, it's just, you want to take every pain of your child on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Obviously, like all of us, like disabled people, treat them like humans and, all of that. But then I was convicted myself thinking, like, a girl like that, that I would see, I would assume that she doesn't have that going on in her head.
Yep.
And that was awful.
Yep.
Like, that's a big lesson
Mm-hmm.
for
Oh,
people,
yeah.
especially young adults that are reading this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thankful that my son is reading this and realizing you can't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly, yep.
And I guess had the same thoughts. It's like you don't, and it's not that you're trying to be mean. It's just you don't understand and you don't know. And but after reading this, by golly, I will be much more aware of a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Alex to read it.
It's good
because I think he would benefit from it a lot too. Because he's the one that I'm trying to get tested for autism, and he doesn't always get empathy. Just because he just doesn't pick up on social cues. He doesn't understand other people's emotions. That's just not how his brain works. And I want him to like read that so he can be like, understanding that everybody's mind works different for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a thing me and him talk about all the time. Because he's very like, I need a reason. I need to know why this is happening, why you chose to say this, why, 27,000 different reasons as to why you decided to do this one thing. And I'm like, dude, I run on impulses. I don't have reasons for things. I just do them. I was like, that's just how my brain works. And so, like, we have a lot of conflicts because of that. Because he needs a reason all the time. And I'm very like, it felt good. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So I want him to read it because I think he would kind of understand that other people, well, one, have struggles, and, there's other people who suffer and have to fight to become functionable in society. And maybe that'll kind of help him some, but also maybe let him have a little bit of empathy learning there.
Yeah.
Because I think this does make you very empathetic to other people.
And aware. Just the awareness alone will do it.
Yeah, it just makes you kind of stop and think for an extra second, which really a lot of people should do. For not just anybody with disabilities, but for anybody. I mean, we've talked about this, I think, in the book banning episode. For me, reading books opens you up to how other people see things. And it makes me want to see, like, how, like Alex does, like, why did you do that? Like, what makes you feel that way about this? Or, you know, whatever. And for me, I am one of those people, I want to know why. Like,
I'm not. I don't think, like, you can do something, I'm like, all right, sounds good. That made you happy? Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also like that, but about certain things, I really do just want to know, like, how did you get there? How did your brain get you to feel this way about, like, some certain subject? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
Yeah.
I don't ever think that far
into
it. I mean, I just don't. That's just not how my brain works. I'm just like, cool.
Well, no, reading this book did make me conflicted about something too. I know somebody who has a daughter who has, I mean, she's in a wheelchair. She doesn't move well. And this mom has done everything she can think of for this child and has helped her and got her everything she can out there that she thinks will help. And I read this book and I thought, oh no, what if she just can't communicate because she doesn't have the right stuff? Because, I mean, I have seen her before and thought, oh, there is so much more going on behind those eyes than you're capable of expressing. And then I was like, do I say anything and make her feel guilty for missing it for 20 years? Or do I trust that she has already checked into this?
I didn't realize she was that old now.
I think she is about that.
Oh my gosh.
But it's like, so what do you do? It's like, I mean, she has taken such good care of this child.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She should have, the condition she has, they usually don't live past 12. Yeah. So think about that. I mean,
and she's
20 almost double that.
Almost 20 now.
So I was like, oh no.
I didn't realize she was that old.
So I think I'm just going to recommend that she reads the book. Like, oh, this is a really good book, you know. But it was like, I kept thinking, what if?
Yeah.
And then I say nothing because I don't want to make people feel bad. And they stay trapped. Or it's like, or I just bring, false hope. I don't know. It was like, oh, what? So I'm just going to recommend the book. I decided that's my plan of action.
Zach, you've been very quiet.
Well, I mean, you guys are saying most stuff I was going to say, so I was just letting you have at it, you know? I mean, so I do agree. I have the same sort of issues where I would almost certainly have, I guess, or have in the past even just like written people off has been like, whatever you see, that's what you get. You know, you get like, you see somebody who is nonverbal, who can't move very well, whatever, and you just immediately think that they have mental issues as well as like, physical issues. And I have wondered since reading this book how often I have like just overlooked that. But also, I mean, I just haven't interacted with very many disabled people in my experience. I mean, outside of what it was in like elementary school, I have had no opportunities to. I mean, I guess I could like seek some out, but I haven't.
Well, I mean, you were friends with...
That's elementary school.
Yeah, it's elementary school. You mean Cassandra?
Yeah, but you went through middle and high school with her, too.
Yeah. No, I mean, but she was chill. She was, like, fully functional aside from the fact that she couldn't walk, But, I mean, it's not something I've interacted with terribly much. And that is actually kind of concerning, because it means that they're just not in, most of the time, they're not in, like, normal society quite as much.
Yeah. Well, we deal with people with disabilities here. We do. So we interact with them, I would say, fairly regularly.
But only a limited amount.
Yeah, there's only so many that come in here.
Yeah. There's only a very narrow spectrum of people with the disabilities they have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
You should talk about how they get angry. Remember you were telling me about that?
Oh, I listened. See, I'm doing a lot of these things because of the classes I'm in, which I'm very grateful I took the class on disability and access. But I listened to a podcast because we had to listen to two different podcasts and compare them. And the podcasts were done by people with disabilities. And the first one I listened to was The Accessible Stall, is what it's called. It's like has a picture of them in a bathroom, which is funny. And I don't think bathrooms are accessible to anybody, whether you're disabled or normal. You cannot get in those doors or move around. There's just no room. But there was so much anger, and they kept trying to like moderate it about. It's like they know they need help, and they don't. Really, these two people didn't really like the idea of people that are not disabled helping them because they want to do things for them and not with them.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wasn't offended by it, and I can see their point, but I don't think they really can understand that there are people out there that are truly empathetic and they think this is wrong and there should be access and they want to do something about it, like me and the plane thing, which just drove me crazy. But I also noticed when the kids were in elementary school and it was Cassandra, there was times she would be mad and she purposely would run over people. Watched her do it. She would just, if they weren't out, didn't give her enough space, she'd just run right over them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had a mean streak sometimes.
I think it would be especially hard for her too because she has a twin who's fully able to do everything, you know.
Yeah, has kids.
Yeah,
married.
Goes hiking.
Yeah,
does all that junk. And I could see where you would be really angry about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would run over people. I have no shame.
I would have to restrain you.
I would be. I'm a menace now, but I would be worse. But I don't know. But I get the whole people wanting to do things for people who are disabled because you don't know what they need, how much they can do on their own.
Right.
I have a story about someone who I went to school with that was disabled, and this is. When I say that I don't think that you should use your disability as a crutch, this is what I mean. I went to school with a kid who had no legs and only had one arm, right? So he had the prosthetic legs. But he thought it was okay to cut people in the lunch line all the time. And he cut in front of me one day. And I was like, behind me. And he's like, but I was like, I don't care what you have. Behind me. I was like, I'm standing here just as long as you are. I was like, you got fake legs, you'll be fine.
Oh my
now,
God.
The empathy.
Wow.
Now, if somebody was picking on him and making fun of him, I would have went and punched them in the face.
Yeah. Or if he'd have fell, you'd have helped.
I would have helped him up.
Yeah.
If he needed help carrying something, I would have helped.
Yeah.
I take care of my own. Okay. I will help anybody. I don't care to help.
No,
don't use it as a crutch, though.
Yeah, I agree with that because we have a patron who comes in with a disability, and a lot of people go out of their way to do everything for him. And he is very bright. He is a lot smarter than a lot of people give him credit for.
And he acts dumb on purpose.
Yeah, and so he comes in and will ask us to do things for him, and I'm like, you know how to do this, yeah. We can walk you through something if you need help finding a specific button or, whatever. But you've done this for years now. I taught you how to do this. I know that you know how. And he has other people elsewhere go and he'll have them do all kinds of stuff for him. And they just do because they don't assume, they do assume that he doesn't know how to do something. And that's one of those things that has bothered me. Yeah. Since I started working here and interacting with him, that has bothered me a lot because we tell him how it is and
he gets mad at us.
He will question us. He will go to somebody else who tells him what he wants to hear and he'll come back and say this. And I'm like, that's not what it is. I don't know what to tell you other than I am telling you what it is. And if somebody else said something else, I don't know.
And stuff like that usually means if there's it's news related.
Yeah.
It's like, this person did this on this date. Well, if that's not the answer he wants, he'll go ask somebody else. Yep. And it's like, this person did this on this date. And he just keeps asking until he either gives up because we've all said the same thing, or someone else will be like, whatever, this is okay then. And I've noticed there's other people in town that will just do for him to not have to deal with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's not right.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you need to teach it because he's capable.
He's very much
capable.
is.
He cracks me up when he comes and asks me stuff and I don't know the answer. And I'm like, I have no clue what you're even talking about. I don't follow this. I don't know. I can't help you.
I have a funny one to tell. When I first started working here, there was a subject that he loved, which I knew nothing about. And he called, and he's hard to understand on the phone anyway. And he didn't recognize me. He's like, who is this? And I said, this is Carla. And he had this I've got the idiots.
He does it too. He does.
It was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'll give somebody else for you. But it was like, he was going to be patient with me because I was really just stupid. Yeah. Which on this subject I was. Yeah. But
I mean, I wasn't going to say anything.
No. That's okay. The intelligence comes from the mother. There you go.
Yeah, no, I have learned a lot of things about a lot of things that he likes over the years. One of them was wrestling for sure.
That was the one, that was the subject I knew anything about.
So yeah, I know nothing about that.
It was helpful whenever Emma was here because she did watch all that stuff.
She loves wrestling. That makes sense, so she could go and help. But.
So, like, even if he wasn't in, we would talk about it so that he could come in and I would know at least a little bit. And yeah, so that was one of those things. Once she left, I was like, I don't know anymore.
But he doesn't do that as much anymore.
Not as much, no.
Things,
yeah.
So. But yeah, he is so much more capable.
He is really something else. He is an absolute trip.
Yep. So, okay, Grayson, it's your turn now to, just jump into the conversation and say something random.
I don't know.
But I guarantee you, if you knew when you started, after listening to these two for a while, it would just go away.
Yeah.
We're ramblers.
We are. It's very bad. Does anybody else have any other thoughts?
I did want to mention that she has quite a few other books.
Yeah.
Sharon Draper? Is that her name?
Sharon Draper. And that this one, she won the Coretta Scott King Award. I don't know which one for. I don't think it was this one, although I think it should have been. I really like this one. So I have nothing. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I had to read it because it's like the book Holes. I would have never picked it up on my own. We just happened to have this one on the list of the list I had at the time. Yeah. Which I was making staff members for me because I was like, I had this horrible list of books.
Oh my gosh, she went to Miami University.
Did she?
Yeah.
Zach went there.
Oh.
That's where I got my master's.
I didn't know that.
From Cleveland, Ohio. Went to Miami University. Before I got there. This was back in 1974, apparently. She's apparently 74 years old.
What?
I know, right?
Wow.
The way she writes, I wouldn't have expected that.
I wouldn't have guessed
No.
So did you think she was that old?
Mm-mm.
I thought maybe mid-30s.
That's what I was thinking. That's how she writes.
Because,
when it came out, I would have expected that, yeah.
her second book, she dedicated to her 2 daughters. And she said the giggles of little girls. So you wouldn't really think.
Yeah. You would think her daughters would be young and she would be young.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't even start writing until 94.
Wow.
When she's in her 40s. That's wild. There you go. It's not too late. If you're thinking about writing a book, write it now. Even though you're, older.
Thank you.
I was going to say, so old, 40-something. And I'm, 35 over here almost.
I was going to say, you're the crypt keeper, Zach. So.
It sneaks up on you. You don't notice.
Tell me about it.
What's my excuse now?
It's just in your mind goes. Mm-hmm. Because there's too much stuff in it. It's like an overloaded computer. There's so much knowledge and so much experience that you can't always find the right pathway to retrieve that information.
Yeah. 47 tabs open, and we don't know where the music's coming from.
47 is a very low number. Okay, I think maybe
last comments?
Last comments and
anybody?
Okay, I think that everybody should read this book because it is definitely eye-opening, makes you so much more aware of the world around you and the people that are in it. And maybe you can notice something that needs changed or fixed for the better.
Or just be there for somebody. Mm-hmm. And realize how lucky we are.
I think it'd be a great book for, required reading in middle school.
I think so too.
It would definitely make you more aware of the handicapped that are within your school.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I volunteer at the middle school in the library. I see the kids interact. It just makes my heart so happy. I mean, those kids that are handicapped are like the kings of the school.
Aren't
they? Yeah, whenever we get a recess, we all sit in the bleachers waiting for 6th grade to come out and eat lunch. Because, we eat lunch and while they're at recess and then we swap. So, there's a kid in our grade, he has Down syndrome. And whenever he goes up to, dump his tray at lunch, he'll, stop by the principal, tap him on the shoulder, and then the principal will blow his whistle, and then he'll, put his fist up in the air and say, yeah! And then everybody, screams.
So, I mean, I see a definite positive things at the school, the limited amount of time I'm there, but wouldn't it make a great book for required reading?
It would.
Yeah.
And I don't ever remember schools being like that. I mean, of course, it's been a while since I've been out, but it was not.
No, there used to be a lot more sectioned off. Like anybody with any sort of disability was a lot more sectioned off than they are now.
I think we had lunch together with ours, but they definitely had their own classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have their own classrooms.
In
like
middle
H5.
school, we had some of the kids with like learning disabilities in class. Because I remember I had one sit behind me.
Me too.
And annoyed the crap. And as adults,
polite were you?
Yeah, and
but you know who it was?
Who?
Our golden retriever.
Oh my gosh.
I love him as an adult. When I was in middle school, though, constant tap me on the shoulder. Ariel. And then would tell me something. Tap me on the shoulder. Ariel. I'm like, leave me alone.
Nah, he's kind of fun, though.
Yeah, if people were dogs, he is a golden retriever puppy.
He is such a joy to be around.
He really is.
So he would drive you crazy.
Yeah. And I'm not a dog person.
Anyway, go ahead, Grayson. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I don't know what I was going to say, but
Sorry.
whenever we went to Charleston one time, and we were at Taylor Books, and I just like randomly saw this. It was on the shelf. It was like one on like the special shelf, like not with the spine, but it was face. And I was like, I wonder what that book is. And then I turned it over and I read the back. And
are you glad you picked it up?
Mm-hmm.
I am so tickled. I actually overheard a conversation with other people in the library where he was talking about the book. And I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, it's like, you've read that? And it's like, that's the reason I was like, you've got to come on the podcast and talk about it, because it's nice to hear different perspectives, especially a younger perspective. Because I just get mad at people and, just really smack them in the head, I guess. I don't know. It's like,
she was trying to.
I was trying to think of a way. Yeah, I was. Because it's like, it's ridiculous when you actually see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a very cynical person about the general populace. So that's like Zach was like, I find this hard to believe. I do not at all.
No,
at
not
all.
even a little bit.
Mm-mm.
We're not people persons.
People.
But you work with the public.
Yeah,
but we work with
That
the
almost
public.
makes sense.
That's why they're not people.
That's a good point.
There are some amazing people you work with. I mean, we have one sitting right here beside us.
Yes.
But and his mom. But then there's other ones that
We have our favorites.
Yeah.
That we love and would do so many things for it. And then there's others that we see.
we
And
do
we're
our job.
Let's get through
Gotta
this
do
real
this.
quick.
Let's go.
But hopefully they never know that.
My face doesn't lie. This is why I don't work the desk often.
Mine, I think at this point I've just gotten good at making the faces. You guys make fun of me whenever I walk in the building because, I don't have my work face on.
So funny. She will come in and she looks so grouchy.
It's
and
just
then,
my face.
And then she comes out of the back and she's like, okay. And we're like, you okay? Whereas I come in and you can tell what I'm feeling, whether I'm in a good mood, a bad mood, whether I'm exhausted or not. And you can just see it on my face because it doesn't lie.
I used to not be as bad at that. I really used to be a lot more like that. And now it's just like, yeah, it's fine. We can take it off when we get in the car.
I do want to say, even though I am lacking empathy, as people say, or not compassionate, or just outright mean, I am very nice to everyone who comes in here.
Mm-hmm.
You are.
So, everybody listen.
And you
don't think I'm a horrible person.
You have more empathy and more compassion.
I have a ton of empathy and compassion. I am just horrible at showing it. I'm so awkward. Really, really bad. My husband's dad was in the hospital and he got mad at me because I don't know how to show compassion. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, that's the hardest.
It's. I don't think easy is the word. It's not. It's very exhausting.
Yeah.
And when you have a limited amount of energy, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Because you put your entire heart and soul into it when you're doing it.
Especially with empathy. Empathy is exhausting.
Yeah.
And I have loads and loads of it. It pours out of me. So I'm just always exhausted because of that. But definitely recommend this book. It was life-changing for me, like mind-changing. I was more aware of myself. I was more aware of how I think about things, how I see things. And I think really I might try to read more books like this.
I'm going to order some more because I have to work another one of my classes, but it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I have to work on collection development to make sure that we have books like this in our collection. And we did not have a lot.
Yeah.
So that's an area I'll need to fill in, but there will be others. And I will definitely get that out of my heart. It's a good thing.
It is. All right. I think we're going to wrap up. So next episode, we are going to do a general book chat with some book news. And then we will be having an author on to discuss his poetry as well as a fantasy fiction book he's writing. And we got to read the first draft, so be jealous. Chase Robertson is a fantastic author, and we are so excited to have him on. Following that, we will have Carla's nonfiction, which is about Bigfoot, in case you forgot. And then
nonfiction.
It is nonfiction. It's an actual account of what someone experienced.
And then after that, we will do another episode of Conspiracies and Curiosities. Thank you for joining another episode of Reading Room Ruffians, and thank you, Grayson, for coming on. We had a great time with you here. You can find our Facebook group by searching Reading Room Ruffians Podcast, which is linked to our library's Facebook page at facebook.com/Jackson County Library WV. Our Ravenswood branch recently launched a Facebook page also, so all things Ravenswood can be found by searching Ravenswood Branch - Jackson County Public Libraries. You should also definitely check us out on TikTok and Instagram at WVJCO Library and give our podcast Goodreads a look-see, which we have linked in our episode description along with our personal Goodreads pages. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and just to make sure you remember, only the best libraries have librarians who won't shush you.